Welcome to Public Health on Call, a podcast from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, where we bring evidence, experience, and perspective to make sense of today's leading health challenges. If you have questions or ideas for us, please send an email to publichealthquestion@jhu.edu. That's publichealthquestion@jhu.edu for future podcast episodes.
This is Annalise Winnie, Associate Editor of Global Health Now and producer of Public Health in the Field. Today is World Water Day, and we had something special in the works to mark the occasion. This year, the Bloomberg School teamed up with Fluid Movement Baltimore, an iconic synchronized swimming and performance art group, to tell the story of a public health menace to our city's water infrastructure, fatbergs. These gross, unmovable blobs form when fat, oil, and grease mix with items we shouldn't be putting down our sinks or toilets, leading to sewer backups and costly removal projects. In this episode, I spoke with Ashley Ball, Fluid Movement's artistic director, and Barbara Wilgus, co-creator of Fluid Movement's 2023 summer show, Sinkholes, Sewers, and Streams, a water infrastructure ballet. And by the way, if you're interested, signups for that water ballet start this spring and all are welcome. We discuss how they took a problem that lurks beneath our feet and brought it to the surface with glamour and glitter. If you haven't seen the video already, check it out on our social media channels. And to learn more about fatbergs and how you can prevent them, listen to our companion episode featuring two experts on Baltimore's water infrastructure. Let's dive in. Tell us about Fluid Movement. What is it for people who don't know?
I'll take this one. Fluid Movement is a 100% volunteer-run, operated organization that does performance art of many, many types in Baltimore City. And we've been doing performance art in Baltimore City for 24 years. So we are most known for our synchronized swimming summer spectaculars that happen usually every July and August in Baltimore City public pools, which we lovingly refer to as the Water Ballet. But we also do roller skating shows, we do dance performances, we do parades. Basically, if it's movement, we're there.
Fantastic. So, Barbara, you wrote the Water Infrastructure Ballet. How did that come about?
So as all of my favorite things with Fluid Movement come about, it started really with just a conversation. And this particular conversation was backstage at the 2017 Water Ballet. Performers have a lot of time to sit backstage and talk to each other and learn things. The main creator of this show, Marta Zollner, was in my scene, and we were backstage just talking about water infrastructure. And why that is because at the time, there were several sinkholes that had opened up in West Baltimore, kind of surrounding Fluid Movement's headquarters at the time. So there were a lot of issues with being able to access the space. So that's what we were talking about. And then it kind of morphed into Marta saying that she had been thinking about what would it be like to do a whole performance about infrastructure. And basically we kind of started with sinkholes. I come from a long line of civil engineers, so I popped up right away and said, this is my inheritance. I must do it. It's my birthright. So we just started kind of riffing on this whole idea. And actually, even not long after that summer, the fall of 2017 or September 2017 was actually the emergence of the fatberg in Baltimore's sewer system, or the first one that was described and filmed and went kind of nationally viral for being present. All of these things just fell together, and we've had a very long road, which was we had a little waylaid with COVID that happened in 2020, but now we're kind of back and have spent a lot of time during all this time just continuously talking about water infrastructure and how it will make it kind of come together for this.
And why did you feel it was important to address this issue in a fun way, in an artistic way?
I think that fun and creativity is the best way for adults in particular to learn. When you think back about being a kid and watching Schoolhouse Rock or any kind of those shows that teach you about specific and sometimes serious or important things, but in kind of a way that makes you remember the jingle or remember the song or remember how you felt about this particular thing, that actually helps people take the messages that they need, and we really hope that people will take home things that they can do to minimize impacts on water infrastructure systems and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And what are those things that they can do?
Well, not flushing wet wipes down the drain and not pouring your grease down the drain. If we're talking specifically about the fatberg, minimize the things that you're actually putting down the drain. Not littering your storm drains with plastic waste, knowing where your impact occurs on the city's infrastructure, and kind of being mindful of that we have a whole lot of small take-home messages, but the easiest thing is be mindful of what you're flushing and pouring.
And so you wrote the script for this amazing water ballet, which covers multiple infrastructure issues. We focused on one, the fatberg. How did you think through visualizing that issue in a way that was fun and educational?
In this instance, that's kind of how we conceived of a way to bring people on a journey through the infrastructure system, is kind of starting at one point and knowing that everything is so interconnected in any city, but especially we found really saliently in Baltimore City how a little thing on one side of town can have big impacts on the other side of town. So just kind of taking a little magic school bus type of ride, and along the way, noting all the points where one would come in contact with, here is what you can learn about the issue.
And in terms of the actual visuals, can you guys talk through the fascinating process of deciding what people are going to wear, what your props are going to be, how you're going to characterize these super abstract seeming kind of things and kind of make them lifelike? Because I think one of the main takeaways of this project and talking through this issue is how abstract our infrastructure can feel, which kind of makes it even more appropriate to inspire the imagination, because so many of us don't really have a sense of what's happening under our feet, which kind of creates a fun, creative opportunity to think about, okay, if we were to conjure up what this looks like in a way that people might actually want to look at rather than in gross fatberg. Talk me through some of those details, costumes, props, how to make synchronized swimming tell this story.
So if we're talking about
that one, I was going to say I'm going to hand that one to Ashley.
Go for it.
So if we're talking about the fatberg in particular, I met with the other two directors of this, Elena Grimm and Holly Grunbach, and we started by first kind of thinking of the costume elements. And, a fatberg is kind of gross and it's inherently a very poopy affair. And we wanted to glamorize this such that people would want to be a part of the fatberg. So we started with how can we make a fatberg glamorous? And so you're thinking about fat, oil, and grease, and we were kind of drawn to the color yellow. And that was kind of the jumping off point of let's start by lovely yellow suits. And Fluid Movement is very inclusive of all body sizes, and anything you want to be comfortable wearing, we're going to put you in, make you a star. We just kind of started with a general color, yellow. So that's where it started. And then we wanted to incorporate the disposable wipes, which are not flushable. We just started making some glitter dot, silvery, glamorous skirts that looked like wipes had all been strung together into a skirt. And then for fat, oil, and grease, we were like, you know what really looks like fat globs? Shower poofs. So we bought a whole bunch of yellow shower poofs, kind of affixed those on our heads and had those as kind of prop elements. And then when it came to the actual construction of the fatberg, because it's in the pool, our number one concern was this baby's got to float. She's got to float. So we started by actually constructing it with pool noodles as the base. And then the frame is just chicken wire. And then we just covered that puppy in spray foam insulation like you use in your home, a lovely yellow color. And that brought a lot of the texture to the Fatberg as well. And then we put the elements from the costumes, the shower poofs and the glittery wipes in the Fatberg as well to kind of make this one whole element. And then we added at the beginning of the scene this kind of how does the grease and stuff get into the sewer, which in this case is our pool. And so I had a BYOP, bring your own pan moment where we had everybody bring a pan or some sort of item that would contain kitchen grease and dump it into the pool as the way to start our scene.
So fascinating. And again, for those of us who don't know, which doesn't include me, how does your community form around these ideas? How do you prepare a project like this?
Projects start, like this show started its inception in 2017, and it wasn't plotted to be put on till 2020. And then, of course, COVID disrupted all those plans. And so now it's 6 years later that we're putting this show on. So there's a variety of different timelines and ways that ideas for our shows come about, but everything is very community driven. And we do public pitch parties. We have one tonight, not that this is going to air before that, where we have public pitch parties where people can come out and pitch any idea that they want. Everything's very community focused. We just have passionate creators who want to have their idea made into a giant show. And then we have oodles and oodles of swimmers and performers who honestly are just excited to do anything at all. So it's a very supportive environment to create in because you have everybody is your cheerleader. All the performers are your cheerleaders. The audience is your cheerleader. And everybody just wants the show to happen and to be as great and big and incredible as it can be.
And this one in particular has a bigger message. Can you guys talk a little bit about what that message is? Because I think that your community-minded spirit is extra relevant to this topic where we're kind of saying we all have a role to play in keeping our infrastructure intact as a community. So having a community spirit that drives fluid movement in a way can be an inspiration for the whole city.
Yeah, this is a love letter to lots of people. It's a love letter to my father, who was a civil engineer and sadly passed away of pancreatic cancer in 2020. So he will never in this life get to see this show. But it's also really a love letter to Baltimore in a way, because this is actually the nitty gritty. Water infrastructure affects every single one of us in some kind of way. And this is also, I think, why people have gotten so excited when they hear about what the show is going to be about, because they have some visceral reaction to, well, there was that sinkhole near me, or this impacts me directly. I think the overall message that we all love this wonderful, great old city, and we all are in it together to keep our city afloat and healthy and happy. It really kind of the overall message is really of that. Like, we are all in this together to keep this beautiful city and even the inhabitants in the water of our harbors all together happy and healthy.
Ashley, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I really loved when we had the conversation with Natalie, what she brought up about how synchronized swimming is inherently a thing that you can't do without other people. That message is carried along through this public health message that you need a communal effort. You need everybody to be working together towards this common goal for you to reach that goal, for you to reach our extravagant synchronized swimming affair, to reach having clean drinking water and having Fatbergs not clog up our sewer system. It takes us all. I think that was a really succinct and powerful message.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for being part of this and for joining us on Public Health on Call.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
1, 2, 3, go!
Public Health on Call is a podcast from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, produced by Joshua Sharfstein, Lindsay Smith-Rogers, and Stephanie Desmond. Audio production by J.B. Arbogast, Holly Cardinale, Philip Porter, Spencer Greer, and Matthew Martin, with support from Chip Hickey. Distribution by Nick Moran. Production support from Catherine Ricardo. Social media run by Grace Fernandez and Shian Briscoe. If you have questions or ideas for us, please send an email to publichealthquestion@jhu.edu. That's publichealthquestion@jhu.edu for future podcast episodes. Thank you for listening.